You guys, the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit just exploded with a massive update, and no one saw this coming so soon. The judge just made a game-changing decision, and let's just say Justin is not having a good week. So if you thought this case was cooling down, think again. Things just got way more dramatic, and we're breaking it all down because this changes everything about what happens next.
A crushing defeat for Justin Baldoni. A judge threw out his entire $400 million countersuit against Blake, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist.
So, let's catch up real quick. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have been tangled in a messy legal battle ever since Blake accused Justin of harassment and retaliation during the filming of It Ends With Us. The accusations were detailed in a New York Times article, and for a hot minute, the internet was on Blake's side. People were disgusted by what she claimed happened on set. We're talking inappropriate behavior, surprise walk-ins while she was changing or breastfeeding, and allegedly being shown explicit content that made her deeply uncomfortable. The article included messages from her legal complaint that showed Justin and his team allegedly planning to sabotage her image during the promotion of the film. It was dark. Blake got dragged for the way she promoted the movie, but even her critics had to admit, those receipts looked shady. Then came the plot twist. Justin and his team didn't stay silent. They clapped back hard, saying Blake's claims were manipulated and taken out of context. He went nuclear with not one, but two lawsuits. First, a $400 million countersuit against Blake, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist Leslie Sloan, accusing them of defamation, extortion, and trying to blacklist him from Hollywood. Then he sued the New York Times for $250 million, claiming their reporting was defamatory. He even created a whole website and dropped unedited footage from the film to try and prove Blake's version of events wasn't the full picture. When people saw that footage, public opinion started shifting. Some fans began questioning whether Blake had exaggerated her claims. People were like, wait, that's not what she described in her complaint. And just like that, the tide started turning toward Justin. Let's be honest, the way Blake and Ryan handled the PR didn't help. The jokes on SNL, the lack of serious acknowledgement, the attitude in interviews, it gave the public reason to roll their eyes. Blake was being accused of using a serious issue to shift the blame for a botched film release, and the internet didn't forget it. But just when Justin thought he was winning the public back, the judge hit him with a legal curveball. This past Monday, both of Justin's giant lawsuits were dismissed. Yes, you heard that right. The $400 million suit against Blake, Ryan, and Leslie, gone. The $250 million defamation case against the New York Times, gone too. So, what happened? Let's start with the claim against Blake. The judge ruled that Justin cannot sue her for what she wrote in her legal complaint. Why? Because statements made in legal filings, especially when reporting harassment, are protected by privilege under U.S. law. Basically, the court said, if victims could be sued for speaking up in legal documents, no one would ever report abuse. The whole point of that law is to protect people from being silenced with lawsuits when they're just trying to tell their story in court.
Anytime you write something in a lawsuit, you can never get sued for defamation. And what the court is saying here is that all of the alleged defamatory statements that Lively made came from that filing. There were no other statements outside of that document that allegedly she had said.
Then there's the rest of his claims, the ones aimed at Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, and the New York Times. The judge said Justin's team didn't even allege that any of them knew the statements were false. And that's key. In a defamation case, you don't just have to prove that someone said something damaging. You have to show they either knew it was false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. The judge said Justin didn't meet that bar. Not even close. But here's the kicker. The judge did leave the door slightly cracked open. Justin has until June 23rd to revise and refile a couple of smaller claims, but only if he can bring some serious evidence to back them up. If not, those will be gone too. So how did Blake's team react? With celebration, obviously. Her lawyers called the decision a total victory and a complete vindication. And they didn't stop there. They threw shade right back, saying Justin's lawsuit was a sham and promising to seek attorney's fees, treble damages, and even punitive damages against the parties who pushed what they called abusive litigation. The New York Times, for their part, is standing firm. They've said from day one that their reporting was responsible and thorough, and this ruling only reinforces that. Now, Let's rewind just a bit because Blake actually made a very strategic legal move right before the ruling. Over the weekend, she dropped her emotional distress claims against Justin. Why would she do that, you ask? Because Justin's lawyers were demanding access to her private therapy notes and medical records. They argued that those were necessary to evaluate her claims of emotional trauma. Blake's team called that request a press stunt, insisting that her case was about harassment and retaliation, not her private mental health. Instead of dragging that fight out in court, they pulled those specific claims entirely to keep the focus on the main issues. That move avoided the need to hand over any private documents. Of course, Justin's team was not happy about it. They wanted the withdrawal to be with prejudice, which would have prevented Blake from ever bringing those claims back in the future. They argued she was ducking transparency and trying to sidestep accountability. But the judge wasn't having it. He accepted Blake's withdrawal and denied Justin's request for those medical records. And then, just after all that, the judge tossed Justin's big-ticket lawsuits out. Talk about bad timing. Blake responded publicly on Instagram, posting a powerful message on her story. She wrote, "Last week, I stood proudly alongside 19 organizations united in defending women's rights to speak up for their safety. Like so many others, I felt the pain of a retaliatory lawsuit, including the manufactured shame that tries to break us. While the suit against me was defeated, so many don't have the resources to fight back. I'm more resolved than ever to continue to stand for every woman's right to have a voice in protecting themselves, including their safety, their integrity, their dignity, and their story." She ended with a message of love and gratitude for the people who supported her, known and unknown. Now we wait to see what Justin does next. He's got until June 23rd to try again with a revised claim. But let's be real. After this ruling, the bar is high, and his legal team's strategy just got slapped down in front of the entire industry. This case has been a roller coaster, and while we're not at the finish line just yet, this was a serious blow to Justin's legal campaign. Will he try to save face and come back with more evidence? Or will this be the moment he realizes the courtroom is not where he's going to win this fight? Either way, we'll be watching every step of the way, because this is one Hollywood saga that's far from over. If you want to stay on top of all the twists and turns in this case, make sure you subscribe. The next chapter is coming, and you won't want to miss what happens next.